Hi, this is Kim.
Hi, this is Shauna.
Hi, this is Kay. This is the Thriving LDS Singles Sisters podcast.
Join us for our very first discussion on why we started this podcast. Sit back and relax. Tell me what each of us want to do now to contribute back to women or to single women in the church. So two things, like, why do we want to do this podcast, and what is it we want to contribute back to women? What's it we're feeling passionate about now?
Silence.
What? Let's start with why do we want to do this podcast?
I think it's a great idea. I'm really excited. I think it's great because we're hearing that 50% or more of the church is single, and yet all the messages we're hearing are all about marriage and children and family and sealing together and all that stuff. You take that last conference and it can get quite depressing. And I want to be able to bring that gospel message to the single people and give them the belief and hope and strength to keep going.
I feel like I want women to know what's real and to not get caught up in what we think it should be, or it's not real. There's no one really living that life that they think that's supposed to be living. And the more honest we are to each other of what's real, the more women are going to know, wow, I'm okay. I'm amazing. I'm on the path to thinking celestial. Remember, think celestial. But I've just always known that I want to get that message out to women of what's real.
Yeah. And I agree with all of those things. I would add that I really want women who are in this phase of life, 45 and older, or that era of life, to not think life's over, like they can't restart and rebuild something amazing and awesome based on all of their experiences and give back to so many people that need it. And like Kay says, there's such a huge population, I think, of single women that we need to band together and give each other hope and inspiration of how we move forward and navigate all of that stuff. I think the three of us have the perfect backgrounds. We really cover so many of the pieces, and we're all passionate about it. We all care about it and want to contribute in that way. So I think it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
It's exciting. And I think if that's your one goal for the next year, Kim, I think it's I don't think you can wrap all the other goals, because it's as Shauna said, it's people think that you got to do everything, and you can't.
And
you got.
I also think what's really important for the singles to know is it's better to be alone than to make the wrong decision again or for the first time. That you fairy tale up what's real and you make it something that it really isn't. It is hard, right, Kay? It is hard. It's hard with the best situation. And I think we can really help them and hopefully guide them in a way to be happy.
Yeah, and really living their best life, no matter whether it was how they wanted it or planned it, whether it's matching their list they had in their head or not.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So live the best life of the life you've got. It's like you can still live a really good, successful life.
Yeah.
My
whole thing is creating your real life. Create your real life.
Divorce, it's okay. You can move on and live a really good life and live your best life. And we get told, like, that. I think the subtle message is it's not acceptable, but it is.
Yeah, it's all perception, because when I listen to all three of our perceptions, they're a little different. They're a little different in what we perceive to be real. I think a lot of times that women need to know, like I've told Kim, we have conversations in our head that we're having. So we're doing both sides of that conversation. They're not really happening. And we have to stop that and say, we think those people really, we think a lot of ourselves if we think they're really thinking about us so much.
Look different, maybe different places or different times. I'm not sure. It could be, but we certainly hear stories currently of people who feel very alone. They don't feel like they belong. They feel like I'm actually the state single adult rep, and probably the number one thing I hear is people feel like they don't belong.
Right. I think that's true in a lot of things, right? I think that's true. So do you think that they can heal that by through their own thinking? Or do you think it really is someone making them feel unaccepted?
I think it's exactly that simple. And so, yes, it is the people themselves have to heal that in themselves, because, you know, they've got to be outgoing. They've got to say hello to people. They've got to participate. So there is that. But imagine if the ministering program, the women actually visited the women and said, hey, we've got a Relief Society activity this week. I'll come, and would you like to come with me?
Yeah,
you know,
I think
to the temple this
that's
week, go together. Just simple little things like that.
Yeah, but really we can help sisters get it out to married sisters that their husbands.
Yeah.
I'll do better at that. Something I've never thought of.
Yeah. You don't think of it when you have somebody at home all the time too. You don't realize those kinds of things don't occur. You know?
And that's because I've had the experience of having the worthy priesthood holder and the temple marriage. And I found that when I was in that cocoon, and it was a cocoon, that you thought everything was working really well, and the missionaries could come to your house. The single sisters, we can't have the missionaries come round, and all of those programs that when you're a couple, everything just seems to go, and he was always in leadership positions, and so you were friends with all the other couples, and the children became friends, and so the programs all worked. And then when you're not part of it, you realize there's another 50% of the ward that's not,
it is not doing that. That's not living that life.
Yeah.
And they're literally forgotten by that group, because that group's having a great time and they're doing all their things, so they think that's the way it is. But there's this other group who feel lost, alone, deserted. Singles are having trouble getting callings because they're not seen, whatever. I don't know what the reason is, but they're in a different category, and it's really sad.
I think it's a lot in. So you went, Kay, and you didn't feel accepted, or what?
Not noticed. It was hard everybody was in their little groups talking.
Oh.
And it was, where shall I? And I'm actually a fairly outgoing person, so it's not, but they were all in their groups, and it was like, how do I break into one of these groups? Hello. And the group of people, this is in a new area, so I didn't know people. And the group that I've got to know are the other singles. And now what happens is the singles go to places as a group, but even we're not there's still people being left out of that group. But yeah, it's like we're a group and no one actually notices the group. It's really quite weird. It's a really experience of.
That's definitely leadership.
Yeah, I think so.
Because if you have leadership, they go overboard to try to be welcoming and.
Oh yeah, there's obviously every ward's got a slightly different. So I just see that's the sort of stuff we can help people feel like.
Think about.
Yeah.
And our take should be on how do we set an example, right? Because just to your whole point, Kate, there's a lady that is a little bit older than me. She's probably your age, Kate, which is very little bit older than me. And she moved to the ward about the same time I did, but neither of us knew that because it was right at the end of COVID and we were both new. So we didn't know that each other was new. I've learned a little more about her just occasionally. Gosh, last Sunday she called me and she said, I've decided that I need to get out of my shell a little bit. I've been living in my little safe cocoon and I feel like I need to get out. And I was wondering if you wanted to go to lunch with me. And I was like, of course I will. But I thought, after I hung up from her, I thought, why didn't I make a phone call like that?
Exactly. But it is hard because that's a personality thing. For me, that is a breeze.
Yeah.
But I know that is harder for others, but it's our responsibility too.
Yeah. So that's definitely a message as far as being leaders and setting examples for others. Yeah.
Yeah, because often there was literally nobody to talk to. And I would go days in the COVID lockdowns of like nobody. And yeah, I wasn't alone in that singleness.
I think getting a lot of ladies that we can hopefully reach here, we can encourage them to open their own group.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's what they've got to do. But even when you do that, you're missing people. Like there's people getting missed in it amongst it. Because obviously I don't know.
We'll start a movement. We'll be LDS single sister activists.
The activists.